Hello, you're very welcome. My name is Damian and you're welcome to Destinations Newry's News Byte. Coronavirus update. 124 people have died in Northern Ireland, while 334 have died in the Republic of Ireland. 737 have died in England in the last 24 hours. The death toll across the UK is 11,329. The Scottish death toll stands at 575 and the Welsh death total stands at 384. The PSNI Assistant Chief Constable Alan Todd says 107 fines were issued over the past 3 days, but most people are following the restrictions. The USA, they have over 22,000 deaths. Sunday's US death toll was 1,557 according to the Johns Hopkins University data. This was down from 1,877 on Saturday and more than 2,000 on Friday. Worldwide, there are more than 116,000 deaths and 1.87 million coronavirus cases early on Monday. Iceland has tested more of its population than any other country in the world. Italy extends lockdown. Spain eases restrictions and Russia notes a surge in coronavirus. Other news. The Down Camogues running a combined 5,000 kilometres in 40 days to raise money for the NHS. This is being organised by Fionnuala Carr from Hilltown, and well done to Fionnuala. They hope to raise the 30,000 and they're well on the way of matching that. And now I'm going to bring in Bara O'Mara from Newtown. Bara, local councillor, has been doing tremendous work in the Newtown area, and Bara has been talking to Bulgarian television this last while on an ongoing issue in Newtown Hamilton. Bara, you're very welcome once again to Destination Newry's News Byte. Can you give us a little update on what's happening?
Yeah, just there's a lot of work going on with the Bulgarian community, Bulgarian Roma community in Newtown now this past maybe 2 years or so, and there's a lot of work being done within the last 2 years in trying to integrate that Bulgarian Roma community into life in South Armagh. There's been a lot of money thrown at it through the PCSP, through the Education Authority, and it's something that Newrymourne and Down District Council have been very involved with at a local DEA level, and Community Association have done great work there trying to integrate everyone. There's no great secret that the Bulgarian Roma community in Newtown, what they like doing is standing about outside their houses. They like standing about the streets and talking to each other and that, which isn't a big crime until you're in lockdown, until the whole town of Newtown goes into lockdown and the Bulgarian Roma don't get the memo. So there was a huge issue arose maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where the community representatives were getting back to me as a local councillor and saying, look, Bara, there's not a sinner out on the streets here from morning to night, bar the Bulgarian Roma community. They don't get it. So I drew up a letter in English. I didn't do it in Irish. I didn't think they would have it, but I did it up in English and sent it to there's a Bulgarian teacher in Armagh Tech, Valentina Ovanova, and she sent it away to the Bulgarian embassy in London to have it translated. And I delivered that out around all the doors of the houses that have the Bulgarian Roma residents in them. And that was greeted well. That was well received by the Bulgarian Roma community for a few days. And then they started having house parties and whatnot in the main street of Newtown. So if you know Newtown, Damian, we're talking about Dundalk Street, down through the middle of it on the way to the football pitch. And we're talking about Blaney Hill up into Dungormley, and we're talking about Newry Street over by the barracks. So just right in the centre of the town. So it's very strange for people driving. If you're driving from Dundalk to Armagh, you mightn't meet one person until you got to Newtown, and then you might meet 20 Bulgarian Roma people who are just casually standing about and having the crack. So I went to an extreme length by getting the Bulgarian embassy in London to do me up a recording urging people to stay in their house or they would face fines, and the police would be coming after them, and there would be penalties in place for people that broke the social distancing guidelines. And I downloaded it onto the phone. I put a speaker system on top of the car. We went down to Newtown and I played it outside 9 properties down through the middle of the town that house the Bulgarian Roma community. And, it picked up well on social media, and people were saying, oh, well done on that. But, the proof of anything's in the pudding. It wasn't a soundbite. It wasn't me doing it for the crack. It was genuinely, I wanted being a teacher, Damian, I'm a teacher on top of everything else. I wanted these people to understand the severity of the situation, the gravity of the situation, that it's about saving lives, it's about staying indoors, it's about helping your neighbours, looking out for each other and that. And I didn't want anyone in the Bulgarian community to be able to turn around and say, well, sure, we didn't know what was happening, we couldn't understand the news. So it was really put on a plate for them. This has been picked up by Btye, the Bulgarian TV. I've done an interview through Skype yesterday, explaining to them the very, very unique situation that Newtown finds itself in. I don't think there's another village or town in Newry Morning Down that's probably facing that unique issue. It's not the biggest crime in the world. It's just a social difficulty that's going on in Newtown at the minute, and one that we're working with the community to try and figure out on a daily basis.
Well, Bara, in relation to all the great work that you're doing there, has the response finally clicked in, or the Roma community, Bulgarian Roma community, are they still sort of meeting, or what's happening? Because obviously the police then will be getting involved, and then they've already issued 107 fines over the weekend. So obviously we don't want to see the police going out and issuing fines to people. But, if it gets that drastic, maybe something like that's going to have to happen.
And you know what, Damian? I do want to see the police going out and issuing fines in Newtown for this. It's because it's got to the stage now where there's maybe half a dozen to 10 young fellas, and they like going up to the football field and kicking about. I mean, our football field's locked, and there's nobody has been on our football field since the GAA closed it down. At the other end of town, up at Dungormley Estate, there's Jimstein Park, which has the play park in it. And it's been closed by the council for over a fortnight now, but they're just jumping over the fence and going into it until somebody asks them, could they please leave? And then they leave. And then they come back about 2 hours later and jump over the fence again and go back in. So we have called the police on numerous occasions. There's days gone by, and maybe 6 or 7 times I've had to contact the police to get them out to chase the Bulgarian Roma community out of these public places. But they're not. It's like a game of cat and mouse. And I think the young Bulgarian Roma community lads have realised there's no consequence to this. We get chased, nothing happens, we're not going to get in trouble. So I spoke with the inspector of South Armagh there at the weekend, and I urged her, I said, look, if you start handing out fines, they'll soon stay indoors. And she was saying, we're a bit reluctant to be issuing out fines, And then I read in the Belfast Telegraph today, hundreds of fines being handed out in other parts.
Yeah, there's 107, I think, But it is, I suppose it is a dilemma, because obviously, everybody has to adhere to the rules that's laid down, and these people have to understand there is consequences, particularly, I mean, if somebody catches this coronavirus, and then it's just horrendous. So I wish you well in your endeavours. I know you're doing great work there. And of course, then you have another little scheme going on about food hampers, I believe, in the area.
No. Yeah. No, Damian, this is an initiative that's been rolled out by Deirdre Hargey, the Minister for Communities, and it was basically, it's a food package scheme, a food parcel scheme that vulnerable people all across the north could apply for. You could phone a number for Advice NI, go on, give your name and date of birth, and maybe explain why you felt you were vulnerable in that. Most vulnerable people, Damian, who are known to the trust and that, are already in the community hub. So the community hub generated by the council and the trust and that, they're able to identify probably the most vulnerable. What I felt, this was launched last Monday, what I felt maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, when I looked at the figures of food parcels that were coming to South Armagh, they were in the single digits. We were getting word that in ABC Council, for example, BBC did a programme on it the other night. There were 1,056 food parcels going to the ABC Council. And when I looked and saw how many came to Slievegullion DEA on Monday, 1. How many came on Tuesday? 2. How many came on Wednesday? 4. It was going too slow. It was going to be a drip feed. And then, so I contacted the Department of Communities. I thought, this scheme's not going to last forever. and hopefully it's not going to last forever. I hope we don't need this scheme in a fortnight's time and we can get back to our normal way of life. But if this scheme runs for 3 or 4 more weeks, I wanted to make sure that 100% of people in need in South Armagh were going to have an opportunity to avail of this. So I negotiated with the Chief Executive of the Council, with the Director of Active and Healthy Communities, Michael Lipsett, and I was able to turn it round that it became less bureaucratic. It was very bureaucratic. You had to phone in to this one number. Some people were on hold for 45 minutes. And I've changed it that the Community Association in all our villages in South Armagh can compile a list, send them to their councillor, and their councillor can email it into Advice NI. So that's what we've been doing. We've been busy doing that. I know in the area that I represent, I've been working with the Community Association in Newtown. I've been working with Father Tremere and Jean Rush out of the parish house in Lower Craigan. I've been working with Colette Hussey in Craigan and with Margaret Reel, Mags Reel in Silverbridge. And it's about getting lists of people who are really in need. Their councillor putting their name forward, saying, are these people known to the hub? If they're not, they should be. And these are the type of people in our area who could definitely use a food parcel. They may not. I'm not saying it's life or death that they get a food parcel. But I'm saying is the Department of Communities is thinking that it's a very worthwhile scheme to offer food parcels out to communities. Well, some of the areas in South Armagh are among the most socially deprived in the whole district. So I just thought we needed to make sure that we went the extra mile to make sure that our people were getting what they deserved.
Well, Barra, listen, thanks very much. A very active councillor on the ground in South Armagh doing great work. I wish you well in your endeavours, both with the Bulgarian Roman community and the Food Parcels Initiative. Congratulations on behalf of Destination Newry, and we thank you for the interview once again. And I would also say, just before we finish, our death notices will follow and can be seen at the bottom of our screen. And thanks to everybody for tuning in, and thanks to Barra for coming on here live this evening.
Damian.